So how do you define yourself as a leader?
Well, I think my definition of myself as a leader, certainly it's evolved over the years. I always like to ask myself the question, not how would I define myself, but if you were to go and ask my team that I work with, how would they define me as a leader? And I would hope today that they would say that I'm very much someone who tries to lead from the front. And what I mean by that is, I really believe that it's very important to set an inspiring vision for your team, something for them to stretch for, and then really to sort of step in then from the front and step in beside them and really work with them to ensure that they are positioned for success. So that's collaborating with them on, what it's going to take to achieve that inspiring vision. It's being there to support and provide coaching with them along the way. And it's also to, importantly, I think, be the person that can help remove the barriers for the team that are getting in their way to achieving success. I also hope that they would say that I am a leader who really very much puts their best interests and the interests of their development as talent front and center in everything that I do. We're there very much to always achieve a set of business objectives, but for me, I take a lot of pride in my team being able to realize something in themselves tomorrow that they maybe didn't think was possible today, and then being there to support them in achieving whatever that next goal or next aspiration is for them.
Mm-hmm. Now, did you have a plan for your success? Was it written down? What did your
No.
no?
Absolutely not. And if you were to ask my children, they will tell you that, that's kind of how I live my life. I had a general idea and potentially some loose goals about things that I wanted to do in my life by a certain time, but it was never really a well-written plan that I followed with discipline. I very much believe that in every change there is opportunity, and so I was somebody who was just constantly always looking for what was that next change that I could embrace that would allow me to move on to whatever next opportunity I could see in front of myself. So whether that was changing roles early in my career, I moved companies quite frequently in the early part of my career so that I could be expanding my breadth and my depth of experience and sort of trying to step into the next role with each change. And then when I finally did do quite a long stint in one company, my objective there was to really do the same thing. It was to be able to broaden my experience, deepen my experience by participating in whatever projects I could volunteer for. If new roles came up, putting my name forward for those kinds of things. So I was probably intentional in the effort to change and take on new opportunity, but it wasn't a sort of against a deliberate plan that I had written out and set for myself.
Now, what would you say is your strongest attribute as a leader?
Um, I think, again, if I would think what others would say about me and I would concur with, I think it really is about setting that inspiring vision and being able to articulate, uh, communicate it out to people and then rally them around that.
Mhm.
I really enjoy leading transformative change. And often, for me, that is about helping people get inspired
Mhm.
by something different that's going to be coming in front of us. And I think that that is something that I do quite well, better than certainly a number of other things that I don't do as well.
Now, if you go back 10 years in your career, is it there a certain attribute that you've changed compared to how you lead today?
Yes, there is.
Mhm.
I think that I would say today that I am a more empathetic leader than I was certainly 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I would have been very much probably still focused on what was my upward trajectory and where was I going to go. And I would say I don't think that that ever came at the expense of others because I've always cared deeply about being there to support colleagues and coworkers and great talent that I've got to work with, and helping to elevate them and lift them up. But I would say that my empathy, it probably was not at all in focus to the degree that it is today. I spend, I think, a lot more time today really trying to understand things from the position of others right up front, so that when I go into, whether it's coaching or it's decision making or it's guidance or it's changing something that I'm thinking, that I'm doing it from a place of a far deeper understanding about an individual in the shoes that they've walked in or the circumstances they're facing than I would have 10 years ago, when I sort of thought everybody was, of course, just like me.
Mm-hmm. Now, what motivates you the most as a leader?
I think the thing that motivates me the most is seeing the individuals that I'm working with be able to accomplish something or realize something in themselves, again, that they didn't know was maybe possible. I tend to be somebody who really focuses on or can call out for people all of the many strengths or the attributes that I believe that they bring to the table. And, not everyone maybe possesses the same degree of self-confidence that some may. And, I really enjoy working with my team and really helping them, again, be able to elevate themselves to whatever it is that is next for them. And that doesn't necessarily mean into another role. It could just be gaining the confidence to be able to operate more successfully in whatever role it is that they are in. Of course, I love a good business challenge. I like operating in complex environments. Status quo and a static environment doesn't motivate me at all. But you're only going to win with strong people that are around you. And I really feel that's my job, is to help make sure everybody can be as strong a player as they possibly can. And I think that's what really drives, at the end of the day, that's if I had a great day, it's not because I achieved some great business challenge. It's because someone that I work with was able to do something today that, I was a part of helping them achieve.
So in terms of motivating your teams, then, do you find that's changed during the pandemic?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. It has. I think that when the pandemic first happened, we were so focused on the operation and taking care of our broader team that sort of carried us through as a group for probably the first 6 weeks, as we were just trying to stabilize the business and make sure that our staff and then ultimately our customers were taken care of. But once we were able to stop and lift our head up, the next thing we really had to do was sort of pause and reflect and say, okay, what about us? And I'm not someone who's ever struggled with motivating myself to get out of bed in the morning to go to work. I only do things that I love to do, so it doesn't feel like work. But I think about 6 weeks, 8 weeks in, I remember one morning going, oh, I'm getting kind of tired of this. I really don't feel like doing this today again. And then I thought, but you know what? If I can't show up for my team, I can't ask my team to show up for me and for everybody else. So I had to have a little sort of self-talk with myself about, reminding myself what everything I have to be grateful for, and that, you have to, as a leader, I believe, lean in and show up for your teams, even on the hard days. But what I did was I didn't bury how I was feeling. I shared it with the team and said, and I acknowledged that, look, this has been difficult and this is how I'm feeling today. But, here's what I'm doing to be here for all of you. How are you all doing? And, I've had to learn to engage with the team very thoughtfully around checking in with how they are doing. You can't see them. You're not in the office with them. And while you can use video, it's quite different than being able to have the simplicity of a walk by, or a quick check-in. I think I've always been somebody who's tried to adapt to the different styles of the team, but COVID has really enhanced the need to be very attuned to the different needs of the individuals you work with, because some people, had a situation where COVID really wasn't that disruptive for them. Maybe they didn't have young children at home, or they had a partner there to support them, whereas others have not had that. Their circumstances have been different. And so really learning to be able to help them feel comfortable to surface what it is they need, and know that that's not only is it okay, but it's what's needed to help make sure that we need to take care of them, because if we can't take care of them, then we can't ask them to take care of others, nor can we ask them to take care of our customers. So I think it's just really being very, very thoughtful and intentional about helping understand what it is that your team needs individually to be able to work productively and really with a good focus on their health and wellness through COVID.
Mm-hmm. And I think to your earlier point, the importance of empathetic leadership.
Absolutely.
Now, what would you say is your proudest moment in your career as a leader?
Well, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, that answer would have been different. It probably would have been something that I had accomplished, some role or some project that I had got to work on. What I will tell you now, and I referenced this earlier, my proudest moments right now are success stories with my team.
Now, what advice would you give to the next generation of leaders?
Well, a few things, I think, and this is probably old advice, but I really do think that individuals who are able to see the opportunity in anything is what is required for leadership, because change is our only constant. We've heard everyone say that the rate of change, the pace of change, is as slow as it will ever be. I think COVID has given us a perfect example that you can't rely on anything anymore. And as a leader, you have to have the resiliency to be able to continue to lead in the face of all of that change. And you always have to lead authentically. And I think if you refer back to the story that I was speaking to a little bit ago, where I was having that moment of, gosh, like, do I really want to do this today? There's a lot of power in that authentic, honest leadership moment. But then being able to say, okay, but again, here's what we're here to do. This is actually what we're going to learn. And here's the positive in what it is we're going through, and being able to help people spot that versus wallowing in the difficult aspects of it, I think makes for really, really strong leadership. Leaders have to be today exceptionally agile. You have to be able to respond and pivot on a moment's notice, if not in front of something, before you're actually faced with it. And again, too, I do think that empathetic leadership is it's a very, very overused word right now, but it is increasingly becoming important as we're seeing a divergence, an even greater positive divergence in the way people are working and living. The empathetic leadership is required to harness diversity. And diversity is core to our ability to thrive as a community and as an organization. And the last thing I would weave in is I think leaders of today really need to be thoughtful about what is their purpose. What is the thing that they're here to do that is greater than themselves? What is their intrinsic why? Because if you can articulate your purpose, you always have a North Star to keep yourself oriented towards, to remind yourself why you do what you do. And again, through those times of change or those difficult times, that can also help keep you centered, focused, and ready to lead.
Now, how do you feel that leaders should lead when it comes to the diversity and inclusion challenges in the workplace today?
Well, I think first of all, leaders, we need to recognize that most of us are on a journey, and that diversity is it is not a topic that you are going to become an expert in overnight. And it's frankly ever evolving. And so that's very, very important. Number one. Number two, I think that it's also extremely important as a leader, um, from my perspective, to really educate yourself around um, diversity, and again, to gain perspective, awareness, understanding, empathy, again, for what it is to like to be a diverse talent in today's world. And I learn something new every single day. Important as well. You have to be, I believe, as a leader, an active ally, using your voice, giving your time. I think it's leaders have the opportunity to work with employee networks and to support different resource groups, be active in them as an opportunity to champion, but also importantly as an opportunity to learn and build your network as well. And then lastly, I think leaders in today's world need to be able to say, I've made a mistake, or I'm sorry, and I'm open to, I'm open to doing better, and I must do better, and I need to do more. But again, it is a journey, and we will not be there for a long time, I think, because it is complex, it is ever changing, but it's probably one of the most important topics that I believe a leader needs to engage in today.
Yeah, and that's a very powerful perspective. So thank you for that. Now, the balance of the mind, the critical part for every leader. How do you create the balance? What do you do in your spare time?
Oh boy. So important. Anyone that knows me, particularly women, will have heard me say that if you don't take care of yourself first, you're in no position to be able to take care of others. And for, now actually, much more so than maybe previous generations, I think that applies actually to everyone, men and women, because, women still do in most instances carry the majority of the responsibilities. And I know through COVID, we've seen lots of studies lately, a recent one out of McKinsey, which is saying that women are picking up a lot of the burden of the at-home care and other things that have come through COVID. We see a lot of men stepping into sharing household responsibilities and children and all of those things as well. So I truly do believe you have to take care of yourself first before you're positioned to take care of others. And that's hard for people to do. It sounds selfish. It sounds like you're putting yourself first over your family. But I truly believe, if you're not well, again, no one is going to be well. So for me, that looks like, well, first of all, absolutely choosing to do something that you love to do. And I'll come back to that a lot. It is so important to have a passion and to be able to follow that. And if you can't do it in work through your work, then I really hope you've got something in your personal life that you can be truly, truly passionate about, that you can then follow in your free time. I don't really have that. My work, I love to work. And so that's what I do. And I get a lot of passion out of it. But also for me, physical fitness is an extremely important part of balance of physical and of mental health. So I'm an avid skier and runner and high intensity training. I do Peloton. We hike, we wake surf in the summertime. So I would say that I'm active minimum 5 days a week, if not 6. And I find that for me, that's been key. In the last couple months, I've started meditating. I'm absolutely terrible at it. I'm horrendously bad. But I do really appreciate the time where I've just intentionally set aside to actually just really focus on self-care and breathing and relaxing. And so that's for me extremely important. I read when I can, different things like that. But at the end of the day, I truly do believe that you have to be able to find those things that you can walk away from and say, okay, that time was for me. And when you're in it, you're able to just focus on that. You're not worrying about work. You're not worrying about anything else. And just being very cognizant that you took that time for you and really intentionally be able to have that time that was focused on you for yourself. And, I think if you're able to have that mindset, it doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours in a week. To me, you're never gonna, work-life balance is a very fluid thing. It means something very different to everybody, but it's that moment of reflecting and saying, okay, I did that. For me, I'm feeling regenerated. I can go back and now face what I need to do next.
Yeah. And to your point, everything is intentional, right? Of creating that.
Yes, absolutely.
Now, if you ever had a chance to write a book, what would you write about?
I think that I would write a book that had something to do with, and I referenced this earlier on, seeing the opportunity in change. Because I think that was sort of, for me, a key success factor. I kind of knew that I wanted, well, I said I didn't have a written plan on exactly what I wanted to do. I had a trajectory. I had an idea of where I wanted to go. And I didn't really know how to get there other than get a lot of experience. And to do that, I had to be willing to take a leap and change companies and change roles and change cities in some instances. And, I think that comfort with being able to spot an opportunity, take a risk, to make that, to go for it, first of all, and then to make the change, was very, very helpful for me. Also then too, when I was in an organization for 10 years, and my goodness, I mean, every week we were reorging and something was changing about the business, or we were acquiring companies and merging people in, and roles were being disrupted. And some people found that very unnerving. They found it frustrating. I sort of thought, okay, how can I actually take this and turn it into a positive? So either I'm going to learn something, I'm going to acquire a new skill set, or maybe I'm going to get a new role out of it. And, I think that mindset and that openness to positively embracing that change was a real differentiator for me. And I think from a mental health perspective, it absolutely sort of kept me positive and kept me moving forward and feeling in control versus on the receiving end, and feeling negative, or defeated by something. And, I watch different people who, again, maybe haven't had that confidence to take that step or make that change, or haven't had somebody there to support them along the way. And so, I think that helping people maybe get more comfortable with that and with that mindset would be something that I feel like I might be in a position to write about.
Now, if I put you on the cover of Times Magazine, what would you like it to say?
I don't know if I have a headline, but I would like to say that I was recognized for contributing to substantive business growth by really helping an organization elevate its talent agenda. Yep. I think that there would be elements of that would be around helping leaders raise their capability to truly be enterprise leaders versus functional leaders, which a lot of leaders today really do a great job of leading down, but they lead down for themselves and their team. They don't know how to lead horizontally across an organization for the enterprise. And sometimes that means having to put your agenda aside to do what's better for the organization. And, I think that for me, great enterprise leadership and helping an organization define that means that, you're building talent for the organization. You're not building talent for yourself. And so, where I do believe I can have the greatest impact is helping an organization position their leadership and position their people in the best spots to allow the enterprise to achieve its goals.
And what do you find is the biggest challenge in terms of moving from functional to sort of enterprise leadership?
Mm. I think a couple things. So one is a bit of how people are valued. So, I think it's very important if you're going to build enterprise leaders that you need leadership team then that has shared goals that are bigger than they're bigger than their functional goals. Unfortunately, for most people, money matters. And if they're being compensated or bonused on things that are just unique to their particular vertical of a business, that's where they're going to focus their time and attention. So you need first of all, you need that inspiring vision that people feel a part of and they want to contribute to. You need a set of shared KPIs and metrics, and you need to be able to measure people against them. I think you need a collaborative leadership team who then also has a high degree of respect and trust and openness for debate and conversation. I think sometimes around the executive table, one of the things that I notice is that teams that are not fully functioning tend to come to the table with their expertise, and that's all that they speak to. Whereas high performance teams will dive into whatever topic is in front of them. And it doesn't matter if you're leading legal or finance or HR or marketing or product or whatever, technology. Doesn't matter what the topic is, you have a voice and you're leaning into solving that problem with a full degree of yourself, as you would even if it was a topic that was specific to your area. And that to me is what great enterprise leaders also do. They really can lean in. So yeah, I think those are a few things.
If I were to ask you for a quote, that would be your legacy as a leader that you want to be known for. What would that quote be?
Oh, I have a couple of mantras actually. The first is the only thing you can control is how you choose to show up. And not very charismatic or fancy, but I truly believe that, again, it's about mindset. It's about intention. It's about seeing your glass as half full or half empty. And every day I get to choose how I show up and how I respond to whatever it is I'm going to face. And I think that as a leader, so often we create collateral damage for those around us and those that maybe are within our reporting line because we aren't thoughtful about how we choose to show up, particularly in the face of something difficult. And so I do believe that it is so important, if you will, to lead by example, so that you can buffer and protect others. And again, you can still be authentic in it, but you can manage the damage that you create if you're not thoughtful about how you choose to show up.
Mm-hmm.